All right, I'm joined by my good friend today, Norman. How's it going right now?
Doing great. Excited to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So today we want to talk about something that's really important. How do you land your first six-figure tech sales job with zero experience? So let's start off from the very top. There's got to be a portion where you got to learn the skills that's relevant for this transition. And then after that, I'm assuming that you have to actually go through like some kind of job hunting timeline, right?
Exactly.
Off the top of your head right now, how long does, I don't come from a tech sales background,
Yeah.
uh, but I want to go ahead and join tech sales.
Right.
Like what what does the first step look like? And then walk me through the steps by step process from there.
Absolutely. And if it's helpful, maybe I'll start with just kind of not a lot of people know what is tech sales.
Yeah.
So I'll kick things off. Many folks who we speak to, they have some sales in their background, whether it's a family, friend, or they've done it before. But it typically looks like they've been in car sales. They've been in what we call transactional sales environments, like door-to-door sales, where in that one meeting where you meet a customer or potential customer, there's a lot of pressure to get them to buy something right then and there. Oftentimes, again, not only is it high pressure, but these might be what we call commission only or performance focused roles where you don't get any kind of base salary or hourly wage. You simply get a commission if you're successful. So if you're door to door, you could be spending your entire day knocking on doors. People are rejecting you. And unless you were really good in that one moment when they answered the phone and you could get them to buy or commit, you're not going to be successful. That is not tech sales. That is not tech sales at all.
What?
So technology sales is relationship-based selling.
Yeah.
And to give you the picture, you are going to be responsible to be the face of a company, a technology company, usually in the sector of software as a service or SaaS, SaaS. And the way to think about this is think of your Netflix subscription, but it's selling to other businesses. And so Netflix gets charged $14, $15 a month, I think it's at right now. Well, in tech sales, businesses sell to other businesses in that same model, subscriptions, but the subscriptions are 20, 30, $50,000 a year, right? So no one's just taking out their credit card, going to a website and swiping that. These companies need people who can represent them. So you, as a tech sales representative, you would know a lot about your company, the types of problems that your company solves, why your technology matters, what kind of impact you can have on your customers, on their lives and their businesses. And then it would be on you to build relationships with other companies. So you'd be reaching out to CEOs, vice presidents, directors, people who can make decisions on behalf of their whole company and persuading them that it's in their interest to meet with your company. Usually it's because you can either help them get more money, more revenue, you can help them run their business smoother, you can stop them from being at risk, like cybersecurity, right? It's really kind of basic. I can help you make more money. I can save you more money. I can stop you from being at risk. But there's some unique value that your technology offers. So as a sales rep, you are trying to meet and court these CEOs, vice presidents, and directors and persuade them that they should meet with your company because you can solve that problem for them. You can help them earn revenue. You can protect them in some way. And if that meeting does well, it's going to be a $50,000 to $100,000 deal. But like I said, this isn't, your car sales, your door-to-door sales. These conversations take a lot of time to earn, right? You might be reaching out to a CEO or vice president for a couple days, a couple weeks before they finally agree to meet with you. And if they do meet with you, that's just the first step. You're going to have multiple meetings before they finally take out that credit card or sign an agreement. So you have to be a totally different person than the person who can just sell a car right then and there because I got you at the shop and you like the color blue and this Maserati's here and it's blue and it looks good for you. No, you have to be able to build a relationship over time and earn their trust. So I know that was long-winded, but I just wanted to give that picture of like what is tech sales compared to any other sales.
I mean, that's a very intuitive overview. Having said that, though, in terms of compensation, where do you, I mean, uh, how many, how much money do you think people can expect to
Yeah.
earn for their first tech sales role? And when do you think they can, I think more importantly, for a lot of people that come from the transactional sales side that's
Yep.
used to the faster turnaround time, how
Yep.
long do you think they usually have to wait before they collect their first commission check?
Yeah, good point. So tech sales is one of those industries where those spaces where your growth is just like this. If
Right.
you're doing well, if you're the person that's built for it, if you're trained for it, you've got the experience or the skills. Um, your first year is going to be, you're going to probably cap out. You start off as an SDR or a BDR. And so these people are the ones who are getting those meetings with the CEOs, vice presidents, directors. Lots of work. You have to be reaching out to them. You have to know what their problems are to offer your solution as a way to help them and then earn their trust to get the meeting. But that's what your goal is. Your goal is to get the meeting and to make sure it's a good meeting, meaning they understand what they're getting into, why they're getting into. They kind of meet some criteria that your company is looking for, and that's a good meeting. And you're getting those meetings, 10, 12, 15 of them every month. And if you can do that consistently, you're doing great. But in that role, if you can do that consistently, if you can earn those meetings every month, you're going to be tapped out at around $70,000 to $90,000 in total compensation for the first year. Now, in some of those transactional sales roles, like door to door, that's kind of what gets promised to you all the time, and you just like never actually happens. So the way it works in tech sales is you get a base salary. Usually, it's going to be depends on where you're at, but we've seen $50,000 to $60,000 is an average if there's no experience beforehand. That's your base salary, right? So you're getting 4 or 5 grand a month every month. Great. And then on top of that, you're going to get $20,000 to $30,000 in bonus or commission. And that's for your year. Now, I said the growth is like this, right? Because what I mean is this is the SDR BDR role is your foot in the door role. It's usually a short timeline, 6 months to 18 months, depending on the type of company you're at. So within 6 months to 18 months, again, depending on the company, you could be eligible for a promotion into what we call an account executive. And as soon as you're an account executive, your compensation is split. 50% base salary, 50% bonus, but your base salary becomes 65, 70, 75, even 80, and then you're making another 65, 75, 80 in commission, right? So these, within 6 months to 18 months, you're now all of a sudden have the opportunity to be making 120, $150,000 a year in your first 2 years in tech sales.
Man. Okay, okay. So you talked about like if you're trained for it, if you have the skills for it. Well, okay, I'm coming out from let's just say I'm, working at the local car dealership or I'm in life insurance sales, right?
Yeah.
What skills do I need to take on and how long does it take me to learn these skills?
Good question. So, skills first and how long? So if you have a sales background, a sales exposure, this is great for you. Your training should be faster. Your gaining of the new skills, you should ramp up faster. And if you don't have that experience, that's totally fine. We've done really well with teachers, for example, who have wanted to change into a career where maybe they don't have a limited salary and that's all they're going to make, right? But basically, what you're going to need to know is you're going to need to know how to conduct effective prospecting is what we call it. So prospecting is the art of research. So you'll be challenged with having a list of 200 companies. And those 200 companies, you got to get meetings with all of them. That's your goal for the year, right? And Facebook could be on that list, for example. Maybe not, but it could be. And so prospecting is the act of researching those companies, researching specific individuals in those companies, and being able to articulate what are their challenges, what are the problems they have, how does your solution help them, and then use all of that research, what you've learned about them as individuals and about them as a company, what are their challenges, what are problems, and then conduct effective outreach. Okay, so there's prospecting, which is a major skill. Then there's outreach. Outreach, for many who have been in sales before, this might feel familiar. So these are having structured conversations versus phone. So cold calls, warm calls, effective email outreach. So your written ability, social, outreach, or social selling. So LinkedIn messaging, for example. Each one of these categories of outreach, you can't just kind of go into it willy-nilly. There's structure, there's technique, and there's pacing that you need to learn because, again, this isn't transactional sales. So this isn't one call and we're going to sign a deal, one email, we're going to sign a deal. This is us building a relationship over time and earning the trust of a VP at Facebook, right? Or a director at any company. So there's specific technique you need to learn. So if you have sales experience, we have to relearn some of that technique. If you don't have sales experience, great, we'll teach you. And then finally, you need to know the technology. So employers hire, and they hire a lot in tech and tech sales. It's one of those professions that will always be around. But when they hire, they want to train you on their product, their solution, right? They don't want to train you on sales, and they certainly don't want to train you on how to use the basic tools. So if you don't already know how to use a CRM, or how to use, which is a customer relationship management platform, or how to use a lead generation software like Lead IQ or Apollo, or a sales enablement platform like SalesLoft or Outreach, you're kind of a couple of steps behind because there are other salespeople in the market who do have that exposure because they worked at a company that paid for these premium tools. And so now when they get hired, they only need to learn about the product. They don't need to learn about how to do the job. So technology, prospecting, and outreach are those three core fundamentals you're going to need if you want to land a role as an SDR or in tech sales quickly.
Got it. Okay. How long does it usually take to learn these skills?
So if you get hired from any company, a large company, for example, I got my start at Google. Google and any sort of established company is going to give you 3 months of what they call the ramp period. And the ramp period is you're being paid 40 hours a week, right? Plus you're a salaried employee and you are specifically being trained day in and day out for 90 days in this role. And this covers everything from, like we said, the technology to the sales outreach to prospecting. And then finally, that specific company's product and their market, what kinds of customers they go after, what are the problems their customers have. All of that will typically happen within the first 90 days. So the goals that you have as an individual, how many meetings that you're booking, for example, as an SDR, you'll have a lowered goal because your employer will know that you're not fully ready, you're not trained up. So you'll have 90 days where you'll have some soft goals, but you'll really be focusing on developing your skill set. The problem is employers don't really love investing 90 days to hire and train someone from scratch. Right? So what we created here at Elevate is a 10-week program, still 2.5 months, but instead of every week for 40 hours a week, you have to learn this from scratch. We train, we develop, we build out your skill set, and every single month, you have the opportunity to interview with employers if you think you're ready. So it won't take you 90 days. It might not even take you the full 10 weeks. If you feel like you're ready by week 4 or week 6 or week 8, you'll have access to employers who'd want to hire for this role.
Got it. Okay. When it comes down to after the 2.5 months, excuse me, can somebody get it done a lot faster than 2.5 months if they wanted to?
Yes. The candidates that we take on and the candidates that just do well in sales, they have a lot of these intangible skills that will make them successful throughout their career in sales. And one of the number one intangibles that they'll have is initiative and drive. So the way that it looks in our program is initiative at least, when we are training on the skill set of being in tech sales and being an SDR in tech sales, everything that's being learned can be applied immediately. Remember, it's technology, it's prospecting, it's outreach, right? So as we are teaching and training on outreach, there's no reason why candidates cannot take that training and apply it directly in their job search today. And the candidates that have that outreach, they're not only applying for the job, but they're doing the job by selling themselves. They have what we call good problems. Good problems is when you're working a 9 to 5 job, you're training for this career path, and you're swamped because you have 6 or 7 interviews lined up and you don't know which one you should focus on with your limited time, right? Congrats, that's good problems. And you get good problems by showing that you have that salesperson core soft skills, if you will, that drive, that hustle, that initiative.
Yeah. Okay. With that said, let's talk about the if I have a full-time job right now,
Yeah.
how many hours do you think I need to commit on a weekly basis to aggregate the skills quickly?
4 to 10. 4 hours in our training program a week, and in our training program, while you're enrolled, we are challenging you to commit to the activities that you would be engaging in to get the SDR role, right? To get into tech sales. Beyond those 4 hours, it's whatever hours you can spend actually doing the role to get the role, right? It's leveraging your training on how to prospect efficiently, how to conduct outreach, and how to use technology so that you work smarter, not harder, right? And so our top candidates are able to commit initial 5 to 10 hours, and if they can, good problems, right? They're going to roll before those 2.5 months.
What would you say the breakdown is in membership between people that have a full-time job and are engaged versus the people that are engaged in the program 100%?
Versus engaged in the program 100% or have a full-time job.
Yeah, like the people that have a full-time job and they're trying to make this transition at the same time, and then the
Right.
people that, for whatever reason, have the luxury of just being able to
Yeah.
focus on this program 100% of the time.
I have some crazy cool stories, I should say, on that. So I've had some folks who didn't have sales backgrounds, and they worked like night at a hotel, and they were doing the security. So they were just kind of at a desk, and it was always quiet, and they were looking at it, but they were seeing in their cohorts. So we operate through cohorts, that other folks who were dedicating more time were getting more interviews, and would just out of nowhere say, I don't even have interviews lined up, but I'm gonna quit what I'm doing right now because I know if I invest the time, it's going to be successful. And they were successful and landed a role 3 weeks, 4 weeks later. I would say I'm personally always advocating for our students, so I would never say to go ahead and just take the leap like that. But the more time that you can focus on this, and the more you make it a priority, the higher likelihood you're going to be successful faster, right? We will have students that we enroll that will sit back and relax and just kind of take the cohort, and that's it. It's almost like a hobby to them. And then they'll start seeing everyone else who was extremely serious from day one and started taking the outreach tactics and started putting it in their job search. And now it's week 4 and they already have a job. And those same people are like, oh man, now I'm going to start trying, right? Now I'm going to start engaging. So I just think whenever you get enrolled in a program like this, we're very serious about you. So be serious about yourself. If you have to have a full-time job or a part-time job, and that's what you need to make your ends meet, it's totally fine. We'll work around you, but dedicate hours, because it's not a year away. It's not 2 years away. It's weeks away until you can break into this space.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk about the job hunting portion of it. How soon can I start firing off resumes to companies?
So you'll want to work on it first. Most times we take on folks who maybe don't even have LinkedIn profiles, which are really important in this sort of professional sphere of getting jobs and having your candidacy looked at from real employers. Other times we're operating from like remotes and resumes that don't really say anything about sales in them. So the first step should be evaluating your background, your kind of career materials, and just making sure that everything is optimized for a sales role. Or if it's not has any sales experience, that's fine, but it shows a record of achievement. It's clear, it's concise, it's professional. So I think that's the first part. And then second part is being prepared for that interview. Because in sales, when you get the interview, that's half the battle, which is great. But now you're going to be tested by a senior leader, an SDR manager, a sales manager. Usually, most employers will have 3 or 4 interviews, and that third or fourth interview will be someone senior, so a director, a VP. And what you'll be challenged with are different scenarios and how you would respond in those scenarios from a sales capacity. A great example is, you've been reaching out to this director and your goal was to get this director a meeting, and they called and they said that they don't have the time and they pushed you off. When do you stop following up with that director? Right? It's a test to understand your initiative, your resilience, and your strategy and thinking around this. So if you're not prepared for that, I would say focus on developing your skills first, right? And getting through those experiences in our program as an example or anywhere. But when we have candidates that are in our program, we typically will give them, depending on how much initiative and drive and how they're doing in the program, we'll typically support them to start putting themselves out there in front of employers as soon as the first 4 weeks are done, right? They've learned a lot of the core. They've shown us that they have enough initiative. We'll go out there and say, hey, now it's time to start getting interviews for yourself, as early on as 4 weeks into the program.
No, that sounds great. I mean, one of the questions that I think is like constantly coming up is, what if I don't have a college degree?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, what are my chances of like going into? I mean, you came out of Google, so what are my chances of working at Google in a tech sales capacity? If I don't have a college degree.
I don't have a college degree, and I landed a job at Google. So I would say your chances are rather high.
Even now in 2024.
Well, here's the thing. It's funny because I landed a job at Google without a college degree, but I didn't land a job at Google without a college degree because I applied on a job board. I applied to many employers and had no experience in sales, no background in sales, and no one advocated for me, and certainly no college degree. And I didn't hear back from many of them. But I had someone who knew me and knew my work ethic and introduced me to someone at Google, and I got the opportunity. So what you really need in this space is you need exposure to the skill and you need advocacy, right? You can be high in one area, but if you're not, having both is really what's important. And that's what programs like Elevate do really, really well in, right? Exposure is the training, is the proof that you have invested in achieving this skill set and showing that skill set to employers, to this network. And then advocacy is having a program like Elevate or a network that will actively make recommendations for you or be there as a support and a reference when you are out there interviewing yourself. And so that's what we try to tie together, but what anyone should be looking for when they think about breaking into the space. Get the exposure, that's your experience, that's your skill. Get the advocacy, that's a network, that's a program.
So at the end of the program, do you all like introduce the members here to hiring partners?
Every single month.
Yeah.
Every single month. So we've gotten a really great program where every month we have a specific day, and that day is called our capstone event. And if you are a candidate or student enrolled in our program, you can make it to that capstone event. And if you do, we typically have between 8 to 9 different employer judges who are at that capstone event and who share with us that they are either hiring for a role today or going to make a direct recommendation for you to be employed by someone in their network. So these are directors of sales, VPs of sales, sometimes even founders and CEOs who are waiting for you at that event every single month. And what you'll be doing is you'll be presenting all of the work you've learned, you've done, and the skills you've learned here at Elevate, right? So it is competitive. Right? It's our name, it's our brand on you that's being presented to 8 to 9 different employer judges in a 5 to 7 minute pitch that you present, right? So to be able to land at Capstone, it's a competitive process. You have to apply internally every single month, and you have to complete an assignment. And if you're able to complete that assignment and it's graded well, we make you one of our finalists. And we typically take around 10 finalists every single month. But every month that opportunity is available for the students we enroll. As long as you put in the work, we will represent you. We will push you forward in front of our employer partners, and you'll have employer partners and judges available to review you and potentially interview you every single month.
Wow. That's freaking awesome. I mean, If you, I mean, any other, I would say, would you notice that certain backgrounds have like a stronger advantage over other people, or do you feel like it's pretty even throughout?
That's a great question. Um, so it's unique, I will say. If you've had this sales experience beforehand, you've got a great starting point. But if you've been in these car sales or transactional sales, we do have to change how you sell because you've been in an environment where you have that immediate moment and it's a little bit more high pressure. If that same momentum and tactics that are used in that environment are used in technology sales, which is a business to business relationship based sale, you will not be successful. And there are some companies that actively say we wouldn't want to hire that candidate because we wouldn't want them to burn the relationship we have with our customers. So we love having folks who have sales experience and background. Just know that some of what you learn may be things you have had previous exposure to, but we will be training and learning in a different way because you'll need a new model, a new technique. We also have candidates that don't have sales experience or sales background. Some candidates that we do really, really well in, teachers, right? So teachers, as an example, and waiters, bartenders, hospitality, candidates that have some sort of customer facing background. As a teacher, your student is your customer, and they have to have a lot of empathy. They have to be thinking about the perspective of that customer in order to be successful in these relationships. And then they have to build environments for that customer in order for this conversation to move forward, for this relationship to move forward. So think about a waiter is thinking about the order, the potential likes and dislikes of their guests. Same with bartenders. Teachers are doing the same with their students, and they're building out environments for them to be successful. That's exactly what you'll do in tech sales. You'll be understanding your potential customer and you'll be building out a vision for them to be successful. And that's why they should meet with you.
Gosh, thank you so much for giving us all this valuable information. We've compiled everything into a guide for you guys. If y'all that are watching this part of the video wants to get access to it, you can access that PDF and the link in the description. Norman, thank you so much for your time and actually walking us through this entire journey. We're going to be turning out more videos for y'all.
Awesome. It's great being here.
Thank you.